From stories across the globe to stories here at home, this is the National News Broadcast. A very good evening to you. I'm Sharifa Tahir.
And I'm Tarak Etiarachi. First, a look at the stories making the headlines this evening. A set of guidelines issued with the objective of resuming day-to-day activities. The number of COVID-19 infected persons in the country rises to 269. For the first time, Rupavahini will telecast an educational channel from tomorrow. Curfew to be relaxed in 18 districts from tomorrow. Steps taken to operate buses and trains for essential services. Information has surfaced that a second attack to follow the Easter Sunday attacks had been planned. COVID-19 infected persons in the USA reached 740,000. For those stories and more, 14 COVID-19 infected patients were detected from the Keselvatta area in Colombo today. These newly confirmed patients were amongst the group that underwent self-quarantine. With the detection of the 15 COVID-19 infected patients today, the number of confirmed cases in the country has risen to 269. The Keselvatta Bandaranayaka area were temporarily locked down recently after confirmed cases were reported, as another group of infected persons were detected today. A group of around 240 persons who interacted with them were sent to the Poonani quarantine centre. 10 patients who recovered fully were discharged from the respective hospitals today, bringing the total number of fully recovered patients to 96. As of today, the number of COVID-19 related deaths stands at 7. Currently, 171 patients who have tested positive for COVID-19 are undergoing treatment at the Angoda IDH Hospital, the Valikanda Base Hospital, the Mullaria East Hospital, Colombo Base Hospital, and the Iranavilla Hospital. Medical investigations are being carried out on 122 patients suspected to have contracted the coronavirus. The majority of the patients were being reported from Colombo, Kalutara, Puttalam, Gampaha, Jaffna and Kandy districts. 188 individuals were sent for quarantine yesterday. Thereby, 1,470 individuals are still undergoing quarantine medical observations. After a COVID-19 infected person was detected in the Akuran area, individuals who had interacted with him were sent to quarantine. Thereby, 63 individuals were sent to the Poonani quarantine centre. The quarantine period ended today and they were transported back to the area after the health condition was tested. The Akurana Medical Officer of Health states they will undergo a further 14 days of self-quarantine. The Akurana area was placed on self-isolation recently and measures are still in place. The third COVID-19 related death occurring in the Maradana area, around 2,000 individuals around the Imamul Aruz Mawata at Maradana, which is the area where the deceased individual resided, were detected to undergo self-quarantine, whilst another 302 individuals were sent to the Poonani quarantine centre. All these individuals completed their quarantine and returned back to their areas of the past 2 days. Out of the COVID-19 infected persons reported from the Puttalam district, 13 persons have fully recovered and been discharged. These individuals have been further advised to undergo 14 days of self-quarantine.
Taking a look at the world scenario now, deaths and infections caused by the novel coronavirus disease surged, especially in worst affected countries as the pandemic continued to rage around the globe. A total of 146,198 people had died of COVID-19 globally as the number of infections rose to 2,164,111 as of yesterday. In the United States, which registered the most cases and the highest death toll from the virus, the number of COVID-19 cases reached 738,923. A total of 39,015 people have died of the disease in the country, while 68,285 have recovered from the disease. Across Europe, over 1.07 million confirmed COVID-19 cases and 100,054 deaths have been reported so far. Spain became the second European country to have over 20,000 deaths after Italy. The daily information published by the Spanish Health Ministry showed that 410 people died in the 24-hour period, bringing the death toll to 20,453, while recording 4,499 new cases, pushing the total infections to 195,944. Meanwhile, 74,662 patients in Spain have recovered, 3,166 more than in the previous 24-hour period. With 482 more COVID-19 deaths in the past 24 hours, Italy, the worst hit country in Europe, now has a total of 23,227 deaths. The total number of confirmed cases has risen to 175,925. According to the Italian government, the lockdown in the country has been extended to May 3rd, and swab and blood tests and contact tracing will be used massively to keep the epidemic under control during this period. In France, a further 642 people had died of COVID-19 in the past 24 hours, raising the country's death toll to 19,323. The number of people receiving treatment in French hospitals was down by 551 in the last 24 hours to stand at 30,639. In a further sign that the spread of the disease was slowing down after a month-long national lockdown, the number of COVID-19 patients in intensive care units fell for the 10th day in a row to 5,833. In the United Kingdom, reporting 888 new deaths in hospitals, the COVID-19 death toll reached 15,464. Meanwhile, 114,217 people have tested positive for the virus, marking a daily increase of 5,526. Russia has registered a daily record of 6,060 COVID-19 cases over the last 24 hours, with the total number jumping to 42,853 as of Saturday, official data showed. The death toll climbed to 361, while 3,291 people have recovered. Moscow, the worst hit city across the country, confirmed 2,649 new cases over the last 24 hours, reporting 20,754 cases so far. Meanwhile, President Vladimir Putin announced that the Victory Day parade on May 9th, celebrating the 75th anniversary of the Soviet victory over Nazi Germany, was postponed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In the meantime, China reported a month-low 9 new reported COVID-19 cases, while seeing 16 new confirmed COVID-19 cases in total on the Chinese mainland yesterday. In total, the mainland had registered 82,735 confirmed cases, with 1,041 patients. In Iran, 1,374 new cases from the COVID-19 were confirmed, raising the total number of the infected cases to 80,868, while the tally of deaths increased to 5,031. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani urged the health authorities to outline the conditions for the reactivation of medium-risk businesses as the country's infection pace has slowed down recently. India's death toll due to COVID-19 in the country rose to 521, and the total number of confirmed cases reached 16,365 as of today. According to Indian officials, so far 2,015 people have been discharged from hospitals after showing improvement. Today marked the 26th straight day of an ongoing lockdown across the country, announced by the government to contain the spread of the pandemic.
Turning our attention to South Korea, the nation has extended its social distancing policies for another 16 days, but offered some relief to churches and sporting fixtures as the country has reported only 8 new coronavirus cases, the lowest level in 2 months.
South Korea extended its social distancing rules for another 16 days on Sunday, albeit with a degree of relaxation, as it reported the lowest level of coronavirus infections in 2 months.
Out of the 8 new cases confirmed yesterday, 5 cases were overseas inflow and 3 cases were community infection.
South Korea has largely managed to bring its outbreak under control, and new cases have recently been hovering at around 20. Authorities say they now want to find a social distancing middle ground. In March, Seoul issued an administrative order, strongly recommending religious, indoor sports and entertainment facilities such as nightclubs suspend operations. On Sunday, that language was softened, allowing facilities to restart operations as long as they comply with disinfection guidelines. That means, for example, that the popular Korea basketball organization can resume matches, though without audiences. Earlier this year, South Korea had Asia's largest number of infections outside China, but it has since been overtaken by other countries. On Sunday, President Moon Jae-in said South Korea's progress gave hope that COVID-19 was surmountable in other parts of the world. On Saturday, he spoke with US President Donald Trump, who expressed his appreciation for South Korea's help in procuring testing kits for the United States.
The world's Orthodox Christians are celebrating Easter, the most important festival in their calendar, amid a series of restrictions and bans. The Holy Fire ceremony, symbolizing Jesus' resurrection, was lit in a deserted Jerusalem without the joyful throng of Orthodox Christian pilgrims who normally attend a spectacle that brings the Easter season to a colorful climax.
Holy Fire ceremony, symbolizing Jesus' resurrection, took place in a deserted Jerusalem on Saturday. There was no crowd of Orthodox Christian pilgrims and no colorful production to mark the Easter season. Last year's ceremony was filled with thousands of worshippers holding up lit candles around the crypt, where Christians believe Jesus was buried 2,000 years ago. It's a different story this year, as the Greek Orthodox Patriarch of Jerusalem carried the flame, followed only by a handful of clergy, some wearing face masks. But as the fire passed through the Christian quarter of the old city, worshippers who had been unable to attend the ceremony crowded into the back streets to receive it, ignoring restrictions as they chanted, banged drums, waved crucifixes, and climbed on each other's shoulders. The Holy Fire is considered a mysterious act that occurs every year on Holy Saturday. Sunbeams pierce through a skylight in the church's dome and are believed by worshippers to ignite a flame deep inside the crypt. The Patriarch then lights a candle with the Holy Fire and disperses it to the faithful.
A European technology platform to support smartphone apps that can help trace people at risk of infection by the new coronavirus may be gaining support from governments.
A software system that allows for coronavirus contact tracing through people's mobile phones may be gaining traction in Europe. One of its coordinators says 7 European countries have formally signed up for the system, which tells the mobile phone user if they've been in proximity with a person who may be infected. It's conceived as the possible backbone for all European contact tracing apps. The system is known by the acronym PEP-PT, and it's supposed to adhere to the EU's strict privacy laws. But in France, the planned national app called Stop COVID is already causing friction between government and parliament, which is preparing to debate the issue before the app is even ready. Here's how it's supposed to work. The apps are voluntary. People who use it allow it to access their phone's Bluetooth, which tracks their proximity to other users' phones, on the street or in a shop, for example. Then it warns users if they came into contact with anyone infected and urge them to get tested, see a doctor, or self-isolate. But that has raised personal privacy alarm bells in Europe, given the potential for data abuse. France Digital Minister Cédric O says France's app has privacy concerns covered.
There are no problems of public liberty with this application as it's been conceptualized. None. No one will know anything. No one will have access to anything. And the only available information is that when you get in contact, sometimes without knowing, with a person who's tested positive, you'll receive a notification that will tell you to get tested, and you can do whatever you want.
Startups in Germany, Italy, France and other countries are racing to develop apps based on PEP-PT. More than 200 scientists and technologists are collaborating on the initiative. Germany says its contact tracing app will be ready in 3 to 4 weeks.
In the meantime, there were no hugs and kisses with friends and family when Gerda Baranovskaya and Pavel Tyun married in a Moscow registry office, but dozens of guests plied the happy couple with congratulation measures and heart emojis on a wedding Instagram live feed.
No guests, no problem for this Russian couple who tied the knot alone. Greta and Pavel married in a Moscow registry office, but with a government lockdown banning gatherings, guests instead joined the ceremony through an Instagram live feed. Under new restrictions in Moscow, only the bride and groom are permitted to attend wedding ceremonies. New bride Greta welcomed the experience.
Friends, relatives and people who know us had a much more colourful reaction to it than us. We basically just got up, packed up, went there, did a stream online, and that's it. Throughout the day, we received various congratulations during the ceremony and the party.
After the ceremony, Greta and Pavel held an hours-long wedding reception via a Zoom video conference. They honoured the traditional tossing of the bouquet with a contest to see who would be the first to give the bride's flower emoji message a virtual like. Prizes for wedding games included toilet paper, hand sanitizers and other stockpile staples. The newlyweds said the upside of an online wedding was the reduced cost. The couple only spent a mere 650 rubles, about $9 US. With the ceremony behind them, the happy couple are now gearing up to spend their honeymoon together in self-isolation.
Moving on to more stories, Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva says although curfew will be relaxed in several areas, entry to the Colombo district will not be permitted over the next 2 days except for essential services. Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavendra Silva says except for persons who arrive in the Colombo district over the past few weeks for essential services, there is no intention to open any other offices in the routine manner as curfew is enforced in the Colombo district. The Army Commander says as curfew is enforced in the Colombo district in this manner over the next 2 days, except for those arriving in the Colombo district for essential services, individuals from outstation areas are not expected in the district.
On a parallel vein, except in the high-risk areas, curfew in other districts will be relaxed at 5 a.m. tomorrow. Director General of Government Information, Nalaka Kalueva, speaking at a media briefing held this evening, said this is only an easing of the imposed curfew. Director General of Government Information, Nalaka Kalueva, said it needs to be noted that the curfew is only being relaxed and not lifted. He further stated that the government, together with the President, decided yesterday to relax the imposed curfew in order to reactivate day-to-day activities, economic activities and the state mechanism. Except in the Colombo, Gampaha, Kalutara and Puttalam districts and the Alavathukota, Akurana, Varakapola and Akkarepattu police divisions of the Kandy, Kegol and Ampara districts, curfew will be lifted in the other districts at 5 a.m. tomorrow and will be reimposed at 8 p.m. on the same day. Thereafter, curfew will be enforced in these districts from 8 p.m. to 5 a.m. the following day until further notice. Police media spokesperson SP Jali Senaratna said the imposed curfew will be enforced in 24 police divisions without being lifted totally. SP Senaratna further stated that the police expect the public to set out when curfew is lifted only for essential requirements. He warns it is not an opportunity to go on trips or any other casual travelling.
මේ අවස්ථාවක් නෙවෙයි නෑදා ගමන් බිමන් යන්න එහෙම නැත්නම් යාළුවෝ හිත මිත්‍ර ආදීන් බලන්න යන්න එහෙම නැත්නම් මාසයක් ගෙදරට කොටු වෙලා හිටපු හින්දා ෆන් එකක් ගන්න යන්න ඒ වාගේ අවස්ථාවක් නෙවෙයි මේක. මේ අවස්ථාවේදී නිරීක්ෂණය කරනවා මහ ජනතාව මේ COVID-19 කියන රෝග ව්‍යාප්තිය වැළැක්වීම සඳහා රජයට මොන ආකාරයේ සහායක් ලබා දෙනවද කියන කාරණේ. ඉතින් අපි අපේක්ෂා කරන්නේ ඔබට අත්‍යවශ්‍ය කාරණයක් නැත්නම් කවුරුත් එන්න එපා.
Except in the Kotahena Grand Pass, Bambalapitiya, Keselwatta, Maradana, Gotatuwa, Mulleriyawa, Vallampitiya, Mount Lavinia, Dehiwala, Kohuwala, Jayala, Kochikade, Siduwa, Puttalam, Maravila, Vennappuwa, Bandaragama, Payagala, Beruwala and Aludgama police divisions. Curfew will be lifted in other police divisions on Wednesday, the 22nd of April at 5 a.m. and will be reimposed at 8 p.m. on the same day. Should any area in which curfew has been relaxed be identified as a risk area, curfew regulations can be imposed restricting such an area. If an area declared a quarantine area, no individual will be permitted to enter or exit the said area. Meanwhile, the police divisions in which curfew is in force indefinitely, the public are allowed to use the main roads when travelling for essential services. In addition, in areas in which the curfew is lifted, the public are advised to use the main roads for essential requirements such as to report for work. Movements between districts have been restricted to essential services, including heading for employment. The Presidential Secretariat states schools, universities, tuition classes and other educational institutes and cinema halls will remain closed until further notice.
The government has decided to ease the COVID-19 related restrictions currently imposed in the country on a gradual basis to enable government officers to resume day-to-day activities. Presidential Secretary Dr. P.B. Jayasundara today released a circular mandating guidelines to be adhered by all government officers that will resume work in geographical areas where restrictions are eased. Thereby, strict compliance needs to be ensured with regard to social distancing, wearing face masks, hand washing and other measures in all government offices in all districts. All workplaces need to be maintained in a clean and sanitary condition. Facilities for hand washing with soap and water and hand sanitizers should be placed prominently, especially at institutions which are frequently visited by the public. In addition, notices conveying the health guidelines that need to be followed should be displayed prominently for the information of the public. Healthcare guidelines for work sites and office premises which have already been developed by the Ministry of Roadways and Highways should be enforced during the implementation of construction projects. Workplace meetings need to be managed with only essential participants in attendance. Teleworking is encouraged wherever feasible and as much as possible to minimize crowding the workplace. Schools, higher education institutions and vocational educational institutions will remain closed but will operate on distant learning mode and remote working arrangements. No religious activities or meetings with large gatherings should be organized during this period. Work-related travel that is not essential can be suspended, whilst employees who have to undertake essential travel should be advised to comply with the prevailing regulations in the respective geographical areas in which they are traveling. Employees should be instructed that anyone experiencing even mild symptoms of COVID-19 should remain at home. The names and contact details of all employees, all participants at meetings and others providing various services to the workplace must be maintained. Compliance also with the COVID-19 preparedness for workplaces guidelines issued by the Directorate of Environmental Health, Occupational Health and Food Safety of the Ministry of Health is further mandated. These guidelines are accessible via the web link which will be displayed on screen. An officer needs to be assigned to regularly monitor workplace conditions to ensure compliance with health and sanitation safeguard and to take immediate mitigation actions where required. A mechanism needs to be planned and implemented by employees to return to work in phases. Thereby, government officers shall resume normal office functions with a limited staff initially. The heads of each institution needs to issue specific instructions on the mode of work during the period. Except in the districts of Colombo, Gampaha, Kaluthara, Puttalam and any other vulnerable district declared on the advice of the Director General of Health Services, government officers in other districts shall operate with only 50% of their employees reporting to work on a rotational basis initially. Government officers in the Colombo, Gampaha, Kaluthara, Puttalam and any other vulnerable district declared on the advice of the Director of Health Services shall operate with only 20% of their employees reporting to work on a rotational basis. Flexible working hours such as working in 2 separate shifts in order to reduce overcrowding in workplaces and public transport may be arranged at the discretion of the head of the institution. Arrangements need to be made to ensure the government services are delivered continuously even if a certain proportion of employees are not reporting to work. Government officers that routinely cater to public requirements should introduce special mechanisms for the general public to obtain services during this period when a limited number of employees are reporting for work. Thereby, heads of institutions may offer different categories of public services on designated dates and times to prevent large numbers of people visiting government offices. Such as mechanisms should be adequately communicated to the public via mass media and other communication methods. Existing remote service delivery mechanism to provide services to the public through digital means should be strengthened, whilst new digital mechanisms should be introduced in consultation with the information and communication technology agencies. The use of SMS, mobile applications and email to a possible extent is recommended during the gradual migration towards providing government services through digital means. The performance of routine work with work-from-home arrangements shall continue. Under work-from-home arrangement, the heads of institutions shall determine on the type of work to be carried out from home, the specific employees who will attend such work, how frequently employees need to report to work during the week, and arrangements for the urgent recall of employees who are working from home. Employees working from home need to meet their daily deadlines for all routine tasks. Employees, when working from home, need to maintain call-up diaries as well as a record of their official work carried out on a daily basis. All employees are advised to ensure that their children have uninterrupted access to education by directing them to work online, learning resources and educational programs on television. Channel I and Netra TV will commence telecasting educational programs from tomorrow, and the programs covering general education will be telecast during the time period from 4 a.m. to 9 p.m., whilst programs covering higher education and vocational education will be telecast from 9:30 p.m. to 12 midnight. This move has been taken under the guidance of the Ministries of Education, Higher Education and Skills Development. All employees working from home are advised to allocate time to engage in home gardening, which can serve to supplement food requirements at home.
The Sri Lanka Rupavahini Corporation has taken steps to telecast a series of special educational programs over Channel I and Netra TV from tomorrow. This initiative, titled Guru Gedara Hadena Api Hadana Tana, this is the first time two television channels were located for educational programs in a bid to strengthen the educational process of the student population of the country. The initiative is to allocate two television channels on behalf of students whose education is affected by the spread of the coronavirus. Was taken upon a concept of the President under the guidance of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The cabinet paper in this regard was tabled by Minister of Education, Sports and Youth Affairs Dala Salha. It received the full approval of the Cabinet of Ministers, including Minister of Information and Communication Technology, Higher Education and Technology and Innovation Bandula Gunawardena. The series of educational programs are being compiled targeting students at school, university and vocational training level. The tutorials are being compiled by the National Education Institute. The agreement in this regard was signed at the premises of Rupavahini Corporation under the patronage of Ministers Bandula Gunawardena and Dala Salha. Tomorrow from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. and from 10 p.m. to 12 midnight, students can join with the Guru Gedara educational program, which will be telecast programs covering the A-level syllabus of the subjects physics, accounting, economics and Sinhala, as well as technical subjects. The programs will be conducted in both the Sinhala and Tamil medium. From the 21st of April, educational programs will be telecast from 4 a.m. daily. As per the signed agreement, 80% of the airtime on Channel I and Netra TV will be allocated for educational programs. 60% of airtime will be allocated for O-level subjects, whilst the remaining 20% will be for A-level and vocational subjects. All programs will be telecast upon the approval of the National Education Institute, the University Grants Commission and the Tertiary and Vocational Education Commission.
The government has decided to suspend the importation of non-essential goods for a period of 3 months. Co-Cabinet spokesperson Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena announced this decision at a media briefing held at the Government Information Centre today. Minister Dr. Bandula Gunawardena said that the new Gazette notification that has been issued and under the Imports and Exports Regulation Act, the importation of consumer goods and luxury goods that can be produced within the country, vehicles and other non-essential costly items has been suspended for a period of 3 months. He further stated in order to discourage the importation of certain goods, the relevant tax percentage has been increased. However, as the other production sectors of the country need to continue operations, the importation of raw materials for small, medium and large-scale industries is permitted together with imports of machinery and spare parts needed for industries. Dr. Bandula Gunawardena says there will be no shortage of consumer goods and also no shortage of raw materials and other inputs required for the industries. The minister states, should there be any issues with the Gazette notification, appeals can be submitted to the Secretary of the Ministry of Finance.
The police state that information has surfaced that after last year's Easter Sunday attacks, a second attack had also been planned. Speaking at a media briefing held in Colombo today, police media spokesperson Jalya Senaratne said the plan was thwarted amid long-term investigations carried out by the CID, and the suspects who planned the attack were arrested. The Tawhid Jamaat organization unleashed attacks on the 21st of April 2019, which was Easter Sunday, targeting a number of churches and tourist hotels. Plans had also been drawn to carry out another series of attacks at many places following the Easter Sunday attacks. The police state that a separate group had been trained for the purpose and many activities had taken place to facilitate them. Police media spokesperson SP Jalya Senaratne said these arrests had jointly with certain organizations spread extremism by misrepresenting Islam. SP Senaratne states through this attempt that they have planned to unleash a second series of explosions on a later date after the first series of bomb attacks. He says that investigations were carried out by the CID have been able to thwart the attempt, and informations have been revealed with regard to individuals who aided, abetted and influenced the plans. 197 individuals have been arrested in connection with the Easter Sunday attack so far. All suspects have been arrested after proper investigations. The police media spokesperson says it is possible to produce them before a court with evidence. Police media spokesperson SP Jalya Senaratne said that there are allegations that a certain attorney at law had been arrested based upon a telephone conversation he had with his client. SP Senaratne said the CID vehemently rejects the claim, as a number of investigations were conducted in order to arrest the lawyer in question, and evidence was recorded in addition to telephone call analysis. The place the attorney had visited were also investigated before the arrests were made. The police media spokesperson states the CID will never carry out an arrest based on a telephone conversation or mere complaint. Meanwhile, it has also been revealed that present arrestees had planned a hideout for attackers connected with a suicide bomb attack in a foreign country. Police media spokesperson SP Jalya Senaratne said that the investigations have revealed that attempts were made to secure a hideout in Sri Lanka for the attackers of a suicide attack planned to be carried out in a South Asian country. SP Senaratne said that extensive investigations are continuing.
Steps have been taken to operate public transport services whilst adhering to guidelines laid down by the security and health units. However, trains will not commute in areas in which curfew is in force until the 22nd of this month, but will operate in other areas. The inter-provincial bus service will not operate tomorrow and the day after. When travelling by train, it is necessary to have one's employee ID and train season ticket in one's possession. The season ticket purchased for the month of March will be considered valid. The government has taken a number of steps to securely carry out public transport services after a discussion that was held with the Presidential Task Force headed by Basil Rajapaksa. Thereby, 5,700 CTB buses will be deployed from tomorrow and 400 train journeys will be operational from the 22nd of this month. Passengers will be taken into buses and trains only if they are attached to essential services duties. The support of the defence units will be obtained to prevent unnecessary passengers from using the public transport service, as the transportation of general passengers will not take place in buses or trains. Disinfectant liquids will be supplied for buses and trains. In buses, only one passenger can occupy a seat, and they should be seated in a zigzag pattern. Face masks are mandatory.
That's all the news we have for you tonight. The national news broadcast will return tomorrow. And until then, a very good night to you all.
Good night and stay safe.